Hi, my name is Amber Stevens, and this session is called Why the Planner You Have is Already the Perfect One. And we are going to talk today about planning and time management and how we can fit all the things into our life and some tips and tricks and hacks on our time management and planning. So I'm going to share my screen and then we will get on with it. So this class is called Why the Planner You Have is Already the Perfect One. And again, my name is Amber Stevens. I just will introduce myself really quick. I have 6 children. My oldest is 26, my youngest is 11, and we have homeschooled everybody pretty much all the way through. I pulled my oldest daughter out of school when she was in 2nd grade, and so this is my 19th year homeschooling. I've been married for 23 years, and my husband has been in the military this is his 30th year. He's in the Army National Guard. We live on a homestead in Nebraska, and we've got animals, goats, chickens, a horse. We're very active in 4-H. And so, yeah, that's pretty much my story in a quick little package there. So thank you so much for coming to this session today. I really appreciate you being here, and I am really hopeful and confident that I can help you with not any, but with your planning questions, and we're going to talk about some different hacks and stuff. So let's get into it. So what you're going to learn in this class today is we're going to first talk about the mindset of time management. So behind all of our planning and time management problems is probably a mindset problem. So we're going to talk about mindset and how we think about time management. We're also going to be thinking about things differently and going through some mental shifts. We're also going to talk about being intentional. If you have taken any of my other sessions, you have already heard this from me, and I'm not quite sure what number of session this is, so this might be the first one, but in all of my sessions, I will be talking about being intentional and how important that is. We are also going to talk about how to plan, and I will give you some ideas on how to plan, and I'll show you how I do it, and then also some time-saving hacks. So before we get started, I want to introduce you to the workbook. There is a workbook that goes with this class. There should be a link around this video so that you can access the workbook. The cover of it looks like that picture right there, called Your Planner is Already the Perfect One. In order to access it, you'll just click on the link, and once you click on the link, you should see this picture. And in the bottom left-hand corner of this picture, there's a circle and an arrow, and you're going to click on that link, and then you will pop up it will download, and then you'll find the download, and then it will upload, and it will be editable. And so you can take notes right on your computer. You should be able to, all the boxes are blue, kind of like what this arrow is showing you, and you will be able to take notes right on the computer. You can also print this workbook if you don't want to take notes on the computer, and the boxes won't print in blue. It'll just look normal on your paper. So yes, hopefully you can access it that way. I know it's kind of a couple extra clicks, but that's how the digital demons were out to get me. So that's the best I could do. So I hope that that's helpful for you. All right, so let's move on. Okay, so we're going to talk about the mindset of organizing. So we're going to talk about this question. We already have all the planners, but why don't we use them? So likely you already have at least one planner. You probably have several if you're anything like me. You have tried planner after planner in the past. You've downloaded freebies from blogs. You've read other articles. You might have even taken other classes. You've just tried and tried and tried to, you keep going to the store to buy the next planner. You just have tried and tried to, get yourself organized and get your time organized, but something is not working. And you keep trying to find the next tool. You've used online, you've used digital, you've used Excel, you've used, different things, and just nothing works. It's hard to stick with it. And you just find yourself still being unorganized. And so really that's the heart of the question. We have all these planners, We've done all these planners in the past. So why aren't we using them? Like, what is it? What is it? Is it the planner? Like, what's going on? And I, I contend that I think it is our mindset. So here are some reasons that I could think of as to why we might not be able to use the planners if we're from a mindset standpoint. Maybe we feel overwhelmed, planning, sitting down to actually plan everything we have. We're so busy. We've got multiple children. We are doing school. We're doing, maybe some of us work. Our husbands have a schedule. We've got activities. We've got maybe church activities. There's just so many moving pieces, and it's really hard to, when you go to sit down to plan or to manage your time, it is very easy to get overwhelmed very quickly. And I've been there. I completely know how that is. So that could be a reason why we just don't stick with the planners we have, is we just feel overwhelmed. It's just hard to just do this kind of thing. Another reason is our own mothers maybe were overbearing. I personally did not experience this, but I do have friends and know people and have met people along the journey of my life where they did have very overbearing mothers who were probably, their heart was really in a good place, and they were trying to be organized, trying to keep everybody, where they were supposed to be. But it came out in just a very overbearing manner. And there may be a little bit of, rebellion going on in us, where if we had a mother like this, we might be like, well, I'm not going to be that way. I'm not going to even try to do a planner because, I don't want to be that kind of a mother to my kids. And so it keeps us stuck and keeps us in a place where we can't get organized at all, because we're just scared, and it's hard to be able to move forward and out of that. And I totally get that. Like, I wouldn't say that's necessarily trauma, but childhood, experiences or negative experiences do sink deeply into us, and it is hard to sometimes get over some of those. So I totally get that. Another reason could just be some thinking errors on our part. So maybe we think we can't do it. Maybe we think we're not organized. Maybe you think, it'll just never be me, or I don't want to be that kind of person, or, whatever a thinking error around planning or time management might be. Sometimes we look at Pinterest, or we look at, uber organized moms, and we just, we might feel a little bit of judgmental towards them, or envious, or some of those other, emotions. And we just, a whole bunch of thinking errors can come up because of that. And again, like there is zero judgment here. Not at all. I'm just trying to get us to think about why we aren't using these planners, and what is going on deep in us that is causing us to not want to time manage, or keeping us from being able to be successful at it. So because of that, we are going to think differently about time management. I'm going to challenge you today to think differently. We're going to actually work through some mental thinking errors that we have, and try to shift them and change them around so that we can have positive thinking towards planning and time management. So I'm going to do a few for you, and we'll do some together, and then I'm going to have you in the workbook or journal write some on your own. So let's get started on that. So the first thinking error might be, I don't have the right tools. So I don't have the right planner. I don't have an online planner. I don't have a written planner. I keep buying planners, but they're not right. I want to do a bullet journal, but I'm going to have to go through all the YouTube videos to learn how to bullet journal. I'm going to have to download just the right trackers. I need to get the right markers. I need to get the right pens. Whatever the tool is, that is definitely a thinking error of, I just don't have the right one. I just haven't found the right planner yet. I haven't found the right pens yet, whatever it is, I don't have it. So that is a thinking error that's going to keep you stuck. So you can just say, well, I don't have the right tools, and then you just end it, and then you're not planned, and then life is chaotic. So instead of thinking I don't have the right tools, we can think instead, I'm going to be intentional with what I've got. So just like the title of this course is, you don't need another planner. It's true. Like, you actually don't need another planner. Like, I can give you the most perfect planner calendar out there, and it still isn't going to get used because you're stuck in this, I don't have the right tools. It's still not going to be the right one. So instead of thinking I don't have the right ones and just staying stuck, think to yourself, no, like, I have the right tools. I'm just going to be intentional with what I have. I can make anything work. Any planner, any pen, any marker, bullet journal or nothing, a napkin can get me organized. So I'm just going to be intentional with what I've got. So let's go on to the next one. I don't have enough time. So planning does take some time. There is some effort in there, which kind of goes back to the intentionality aspect of it. But we could just say to ourselves, I don't have enough time. I just don't have enough time to plan. It takes so much time. And then you can just stay there and be stuck. Or we can move our thinking to, how can I make the time work for me? So instead of just staying stuck with, I don't have enough time, we all have 24 hours in the day. We all have the same amount of time. So what can you do to make the time work for you? What are some things you can say no to? What are some things you can rearrange? Maybe you need to talk to your husband and have him take the kids so you can have a planning session. And we are actually going to go through some of those ideas later too, but how can I make the time that I have work for me? Another one is, I'm not good at planning. This is one I hear all the time. I'm just not organized. I'm just not an organized person. I'm just not good at it. It's just a skill I haven't developed. I'm just not good at it. I can't do it. And do you see how all of these, but how it keeps you stuck? Like, if you just say, I'm not good at planning, and you just throw the towel in, then that's a story then that you start telling yourself about yourself. I'm not good at planning. Well, that's not true. We can all be good at planning. We can all do this. All of us have the capabilities to manage our time. But when you tell yourself that over and over, I'm not good at planning, I'm not good at planning, I'm not good at planning, it becomes a story and a narrative in your mind that you just tell yourself then. And even though it's not true, you start believing it. So instead of just saying, I'm not good at planning and ending it, let's tell ourselves, I am capable of learning new things. So maybe you aren't good at planning right now. Maybe it's not a skill you've developed, but you are capable of learning new things. We are all capable of learning new things, and you are smart and you are capable, and you are able to do this. And so instead of staying stuck in the I can't do this phase, let's try to move forward with no, I can do this. I'm capable of learning new things. There might be a process. It might be hard. It might not be easy, but we are capable of moving forward. And if this is something you want to do, then you are able to do it. Okay, so now it's your turn. In the workbook, there is one page entitled Mental Shifts, and it's all of these that I just have on the screen up here. It's all of these written down for you. And then the page after it is a blank page. And it looks just the same, it just says blank. So you can pause the video right now and you can go ahead and write in some mental shifts that you have. What are some negative thinking errors that you have around planning and time management? And then how can you shift those and think about those negative thoughts in a different way that is positive and that can move you forward and that can help you feel capable in your planning endeavors. So go ahead and pause the video and work on the workbook. Okay, so now we're going to talk about being intentional. So I put a picture on here of she's not really running, she's going up and down the stairs, but I like running analogies because I am a runner and I enjoy doing that. So I like to talk about running for analogies for different things. But one thing I want to talk about being intentional really quick, like I said earlier at the beginning of this session, was that I do talk a lot about being intentional because I feel very deeply and very strongly that intentionality is really the key to pretty much anything. So if you want to run a marathon, if you want to plan your time better, if you want to homeschool your kids, if you want to, work and start a business, if you want to do anything in life, you need to do it with intentionality. Things don't just happen, and we need to make sure that we're being intentional. And so that's the first point here is that you cannot stay on autopilot. You do have to be intentional. So from our thinking to our actions, that's how our life will be, and we'll always feel chaotic inside if we stay on autopilot. You cannot stay on autopilot and do the things that you want to do. So think about a time where you felt in control, where you felt like a boss, where you felt like, yeah, I can do this. I am capable. I am awesome. You felt strong. You felt just whatever it was. Just think about a time where you accomplished something, or you did something, or you were in the energy of just completely strong, capable, boss, whatever you want to, whatever word you want to put in there. But think about a time that you felt like that. Were you being intentional in that moment, or by accomplishing that goal, were you being intentional to accomplish that goal? I bet you were. You probably were. And this is how we have to live our lives. We don't want to come to the end of our life, and even just the end of our homeschooling life. I have children that are grown. My youngest is 11. I'm still homeschooling, but I'm seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm coming to the end of it. And we don't want to get even just to the end of our homeschooling life and say that we wasted it or live with regrets. Now, I do know this is a little deep for a planning, a talk about time management and planning, but this is where our mindset has to be in order to get a grasp on the planning. I can give you another calendar, like I said, but it won't get used if you're not being intentional. You can watch this whole video and you can take away all of my advice and hacks and my how-tos. But again, if you're not intentional and really focusing on that piece of it, then all the hacks in the world aren't going to help you be more organized. You have to do it. So these are examples. Running a marathon doesn't just happen. Educating your kids doesn't just happen. These things don't just happen. They happen because you make it happen. You are the one that gets up and goes out and trains every day for your marathon. You are the one that gets up and gets the books out and educate your kids. They don't learn by osmosis. And just as well as I do, if you've been homeschooling for any amount of time, that you can buy the most expensive, the most beautiful, the best curriculum that exists. And if it sits on the shelf, your children are not learning it. They are not going to learn by osmosis. They learn because you go to the shelf, you get the books out, and you sit down and you teach them. And that is the intentionality that I'm talking about. So you are the one that makes these things happen in your life. And planning and time management is just another aspect where you have to be intentional about all this stuff. So some benefits of being intentional in general, but especially when it comes to time management and planning, is that you can get more done. And when we are intentional and we're in that energy of being intentional, we definitely can get more done. You feel more balanced in life. You're happier. You are less out of control. You're more in control of what's going on. You feel like a boss and you know what you're doing, and you're not beating yourself up saying that you're incapable. And so all of these benefits come by being intentional. I just want to direct your attention to the workbook. There are a couple of pages in there. You can do them. You can pause the video and do them now if you'd like to, or you can save them for later. But there are some questions, some more mindset questions, and just some reminders about time and different things like that. So you can pause the video now and go ahead and answer those questions if you'd like to. Okay, now we're going to talk about how to plan. Here's where I will give you some practical how-tos and ideas and how I do it. So the first thing we're going to talk about is school planning, and I'm going to tell you how I do it. I could talk all day long about planning and organizing. I absolutely love it. It is my favorite thing. And creating systems for your home and all of that jazz, I love it. So I will try really hard to rein it in, but I do want to tell you and share with you how I do my school planning. And so this is specifically talking about the actual day-to-day, daily schedule type planning. In my other session, I talked about more of a general school planning in terms of creating a system within your home that revolves around school. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about more specifics here and how to actually manage your time with school and school planning. I sit down with with each child, and then I figure out what I want them to do for each subject. So I'll have, child one, I want them to do, math, language arts, reading, um, whatever, history, that kind of a thing. And then I'll do that for each child I have. I just get a piece of paper and I just write that out. I'll take each of those subjects then, and I'll figure out how much time I want to spend. So maybe for child one, they'll do 15 minutes of math, but child two does 30 minutes of math. How I decide on that is based on age and ability of the child. So the younger the child is going to be lower amounts of school in terms of time. And then the older the child, of course, they can do school for longer. And so I'll just go through and write down 15, 30, 45. I usually tend to think in increments of 15-minute increments. So it'll be 15, 30, 45, or an hour will be my time slots that I kind of allot in there. And then I'll go through for each child and each subject and just write those numbers next to the subject. And then I will get out my little calendar that I have for school. I like to start school at 8:30. So we start school at 8:30, and then I'll go 9:30, 10:30 along the side. And then I will write in, what I want each child to do, I guess. So say, at 8:30, I'm going to have my sixth grader, my 11-year-old is going to do math for 30 minutes. And then she can pretty much do math on her own. So during that time, I can read with my 7-year-old and do reading with her. So I'll put child one, math, 30, child two, reading, 15. And sometimes I'll put with mom. Sometimes I'll highlight it to know that that's like a with mom activity, as opposed to an independent activity. And I'll just go through the whole calendar and just kind of figure out and plan in that manner until everybody is planned and everybody has everything figured out. I will also go through and figure out doctor's appointments and things that we need to do weekly. For example, before COVID, I had my kids in all sorts of activities. So, once a week we would have like an art class. So I would put Tuesdays from noon to 2 was gone. But during that time I had one child gone. So the other child could do some school during that time. I would actually take her to a coffee shop and we would do school. So I would put in there what school she was doing at the coffee shop. We have piano on Fridays. And so I would write in, piano on Fridays at 3, and just know that we were not going to do any school at that time. That is a very abbreviated explanation of how I do it. I hope that wasn't super confusing. So another way that I do school planning, or I think about it, is I find pockets of time. So I'm always looking for pockets of time that I can fit other things in. And this again goes to being intentional and really just looking at your days and how you're operating in your rhythms and where those pockets of time are that you can squeeze in other things. So these are some examples are, you can give your child an oral quiz while you're making supper. So you can sit there and stir the spaghetti sauce or stir the chili or whatever you're making and ask your child, you can quiz them on math facts. You can quiz them on, history facts. You can just have a discussion about the book you read and kind of analyze their, how they retain the information on the book that you read, and then make decisions while you're stirring the chili. Maybe we should read that book again tomorrow because this child really did not retain anything. You can also practice math facts while you're riding bikes. So you can go on a bike ride and you can quiz math facts, or you can be outside in the yard and your children can be just riding around in the yard on their bikes and you can be quizzing math facts. Actually, for some of my children who are very active, that was a good way. We would do spelling words that way too. I would just take them outside. I let them just ride up and down the driveway and they would just spell words to me out loud or math facts while they would ride bikes. Kids can make their own lunch and you can count it as school. Especially if they are older, they can make lunch for the whole family and you can count it for, if they're in high school, you can count it for home ec credits. You can count it. You can count. Cooking can be science and it can be math for sure. So you can do things like that. You're an older child can make lunch, and you can school with the younger child. Um, well, my kids start making their own lunches when they're around 11. And then when my oldest was 11 and she was my oldest and I had, a lot of little babies and children, she would make lunch for the whole family so that I could continue doing school with everybody. So she would make lunch and then I would be doing, school with my younger children at the time. You can also read aloud while you nurse the baby. You can pretty much do any school while you nurse the baby. Read alouds are just the easiest thing to do while you are nursing, but you can do a read aloud while you're nursing. You can quiz children on things. You can get them a little, hard surface to write on, or even a whiteboard out in the living room, and they can do math on that. They can do spelling words on that. You can give them spelling words and they can write them while you are nursing. You can do, short as science experiments. You can pretty much do any kind of school while you're nursing the baby. So those are just examples of some pockets of time that you can find in your day. I also have a workbook. On the workbook, I have some pockets of time, and there's a place for you to kind of figure out different times in your day that are pockets that you could fill in your own pockets of time. And I did put these examples on there as well for you. Here's some more pockets of time. It is the toddler edition. I know that having toddlers and schooling with toddlers is very difficult. So here's some things that I did to help me with my school planning for school, but older kids can play with. So how this relates to planning, I hope that this isn't getting lost, is that you can actually plan this out. So on my planner, when I'm sitting down to do school, I will have, say child 6 is the oldest and child 1 is the oldest and child 6 is the youngest. So I'll put, child 1, from, I don't know, 11 a.m. till 11:30 a.m. play with child 6. And I will actually write these pockets of time will get written on the schedule. Doing harder subjects during nap time. So I'll put, child 6 napping, noon to 2. And then I'll have child, 3, 4, and 5 are going to do math, science, history, whatever is a harder subject for them or whatever is harder for you to teach. That would be a time to do that. So the whole point in finding these pockets of time isn't to just think about it, but it's also to actually schedule them out on your planner. I also have school kits for my toddlers. You can get as big and creative as you want or keep it as simple as you want. Pinterest is a great resource for these, but it's literally just it can be a literal box or it can be a bag. It can be, anything really. And I always just put different seasonal kind of schooly things in there, but usually more toys, and then I would rotate them out occasionally. So it only came out during school time, so it was interesting to them. And then B, rotating every few weeks the toys or the items out of there kept the interest up as well. The toddlers, they really understand this and they really like it. And when they were little, they would say, oh, I get to do school, and oh, it's school time. And they would be so excited that they get to do school like their big siblings. To do that, and they understand it pretty quickly and they really do enjoy it. You can also use a playpen and a wrap for your babies and your toddlers. They can be in playpens and wraps for quite a long time. You can, if you are doing like I said earlier, stirring the chili with the and giving a math, quizzing math facts, you can also have a baby wrapped on you at that time. Or you can just use the playpen. I use the playpen all the time. It does not that makes it sound like my kids are in it all the time, but I use it frequently, and it's okay. It's fine. The children, the babies, and the toddlers can learn how to entertain themselves. Obviously, give them toys and whatnot, and keep it in a place where you can keep an eye on them. But it is. There's nothing wrong with sticking them in a playpen for a while and letting them be in there while you get some school done or cleaning or whatever it is. Again, I schedule this. The wrap might not be scheduled, but the playpen time can certainly be scheduled. You can put on your schedule, 3 to 4 playpen time, or 3 to 3:15, or however long you need is playpen time, so that you can do a quick cleanup with the house, with the other kids in the house. Let's move on to life planning. Life planning is basically everything outside of school is what I'm referring to. Some of the things that I did for my sanity and just our family to function, because I did have so many kids, or I do have so many kids, is I limit my children's activities to one activity per year. They don't like it, but it's life. And now that they look back on it, they look back favorably at their activities in their childhood. And I don't hear a lot of complaining about how they wished that they were busier, or they wish that they did more activities. I let my kids, they just pick one sport, one thing, whatever it is. My oldest daughter picked dance, which is basically year round, but it's kind of seasonal. She picked dance. My second child picked horses, and my third child picked volleyball. We all do 4-H all the time. So they are technically doing 2 activities, but 4-H is very, very seasonal. I mean, we do things year round. We have animals year round, and we, work on cooking activities all the time, but fair and getting ready for fair is only like a month. And 4-H is something that I feel like is important for them. I also want to show you how I use my Happy Planner. I do have a Happy Planner. That's the planner that I prefer and that I use. Again, like I said earlier, the tool does not matter, but this is just how I use the tools that I have. I do like the Happy Planner, and I color code my kids. So I just want to give you an example of how I do that. So this is just a random pre-COVID schedule that I had. This is the whole month. So the Happy Planner has 2 separate sections. It has a month view like this, then it has a weekly view, which I'll show you. This is how I have it all planned out. I have my all of my appointments and different things. These are children's activities, different appointments, doctor's appointments are all just scheduled out here on the days. And then the color coding is, I color code all my kids. So Abby is pink. This is Eliana, she's purple. And this is Akila, she's yellow. And then my other kids were, my oldest child has been out of the house. She's 26 now. She's been out of the house for a while. And then my 21-year-old, at the time that this calendar was created, she was in college and no longer living with us. So these are for the 3 kids that I had in my house at the time. And I do not color code myself. So like this Coffee at Catherine's is for me. So that's how I do the month. I just write everything out, and then I just color code so that I can just quickly see what's going on. And then what I do is every week I transfer my month activity. I transfer that into the week. So this is the week view. So I looked back on this calendar and I looked at this week, I think that was the end of the month. So I looked at this week, and then I transferred that last week onto this calendar. And these are 2 separate weeks, so they aren't going to match up. So the first row up here I use for myself. So this is all my activities and my husband's activities, or things that I need to know about me. Like this says Taylor here. That's my second daughter. She was in college, so she was coming home for the weekend here. So this was just a reminder to me that she was coming home. I had a chiropractor, it looks like. I had a meeting with my pastor, but this is for me and my husband. The middle section is for my children. So I put all of my children's activities down here, and then I do the color code. So Eliana has piano at 10. Abby had youth group at 6:30. Akila had this doctor appointment on this morning, and that's how I do that. And then the third row down here is my to-do list. On Monday, the Monday of every week, I will write out everything that I have for my to-do for that week. And then if I don't get it done, I'll transfer it over to the next day and keep transferring it until I get it done. Sometimes there are things that are specific to the day, and I'll use them. For example, this says cleaning the fridge. Well, I wanted to do that on Sunday because that's when I just have a little bit more time to do those things. So I was going to do it that day. Also, you see here, twist hair, twist hair. I think I have that every day. That meant I was doing hair on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or it looks like Friday and Saturday. That's my daughter's hair. I have two children that are adopted, and they are African American, and so her hair does take a significant amount of my time. So that was what that meant. So you can use the to-do list however you'd like to, but that's how I use it. And of course, you can use these squares and these rows however you'd like to, but this is just one example of how I use my planner, and specifically the Happy Planner, to plan out my days. The next one is talk to your husband. Anything that you do in this area, you need to have your husband on board with. He is your number one supporter, and talking to him really does help him understand where you're coming from and why this is important, and will help you ultimately in the future, because he will be on the same page as you, and then can watch kids. If you need to have a marathon planning session, he can watch the kids for you, because he'll understand. You'll have already talked about how important this is, and kind of what your heart is in this, instead of just, hey, husband, I need to go plan at this coffee shop for a while. Can you watch the kids for 2 hours? That might not go over quite as well as if you kind of planted some of those seeds and kind of, fertilize some of that ground ahead of time. Now we're going to move on and talk about some time-saving hacks that I have learned over the years. The first thing is to create systems within your home. I talked about this pretty extensively on the other session that I did called Slay Self-Care Guilt. I also talk about home management in there. Creating systems within your home, kind of like mini engines, all working together to create one well-oiled machine within your home, does help in planning and time-saving, endeavors. Be intentional by scheduling out your normal things like meal planning, budgeting, school planning. When I have to do my school planning, it goes on my calendar, school planning, and my husband knows that on this day, like, of course I talk to him at a time about what would work for him, but he knows on this Saturday or whatever day, works for both of us, that I'm going to be school planning, and I'm not going to be bothered, and he's going to be kind of on duty during that time. So that's another way you can actually create some, where you can get some of these things like meal planning, budgeting. Those things they don't happen because like I said, life just slips by, and we want to budget, we want to meal plan, we want to do these things, but the days just slip on by if we're not being intentional. So you can schedule those, actually schedule those things and get them done. Leaving the house, I feel like, is really important. And, for some reason, whenever I try to stay home and get something done, the kids, they just don't realize that mom is working and dad is the one in charge. They still come to me for their problems or fights or whatever they need. And so to leave the house is really important. I know it's hard. I know it's one extra thing to do, but you will bless your future self by leaving the house. Use your appliances. Use things like bread machines, crock pots. My oven has like a scheduler on it where I can delay bake. So I can put like a ham in the oven, and then at like 11 a.m. and then at 2 p.m. I can schedule it to turn on at 2 p.m. and bake my ham. So if I'm going to be gone, I use that feature a lot. Of course, you can't leave food at room temperature. You have to be careful of all that for too long. Whatever appliances you have, use them. They are your friend and they will help you. I use a crock pot all the time. Crock pots are not just for working moms who work outside the house. I use my crock pot constantly. 2 or 3 times a week. I use that crock pot, and it is a friend. It's so easy to just throw food in the morning while the kids are still sleeping, and then just have it done. Another one is home repairs. I am an advocate of hiring things out if you can afford it. I do realize that we can't always afford it, and we've done many, many, many home repairs on our own because of lack of money. I talked about in the workbook, but I didn't want to talk about it on here, how time is money. And so they're both finite resources, and um, they're equal in my opinion in terms of the preciousness of them. Especially now that I'm a little bit older and my children are older, I look back on time, or I look at time, it just slips by so fast, and it is very precious to hold on to. So if I can hire out my floors getting done or that type of a thing, so that I can be with my children and make memories with them and do things with them, then that to me is something worth looking at, or I'm going to do it. Now, again, I understand money is also precious and finite, and it's obviously you have to work for it. It's hard to come by. And that's not an option for everybody. So if you do need to do your own home repairs, especially major, renovations or different things, include your children. Just do it with them. We've peeled off wallpaper with 2-year-olds. They're completely capable of doing a lot of home repairs. They can paint. You might not want a 2-year-old painting, but younger elementary age children all the way up through high school can paint. High school kids, of course, can do pretty much anything. And we have some really fond memories of doing home renovations with our children. So that's just something you can also count at school. Wake up before your kids. This is another way to save some time and to find little pockets of time. I know it's hard, especially when you have newborns or babies or toddlers that aren't sleeping. I get it. And of course, there are seasons of life where this might not be possible. So like, I don't think I said at the beginning of this one, but one of my other sessions, I did say, take what works for you, leave what doesn't. I do understand there are seasons of life where this is impossible. I get it. I've been there. But if you can, try to wake up before your children, even just 30 minutes. It gives you a chance to just get up, have your cup of coffee or whatever you like to have in the morning, and just, you can do a Bible study, or you can just stare out the window. You can have some quiet time. You could throw a load of laundry in. You could throw supper in the crock pot. You can kind of do whatever you want during that time, but waking up before your children, to me, is just, I love it. It's a very valuable part of my day, and a way I can find more time to get some other things done. And then again, the pockets of time, always try to find pockets of time. Those are really the key to, at least in my opinion, to being able to be really productive. And of course, you again have to be intentional about it, but you will be able to, if you start looking for them, you will find little pockets of time that you can add onto your schedule to be more productive. That is all I have for today. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate each and every one of you being here. On the very last page on the workbook is a resource page. I have resources for budgeting, planning, organization. These are my favorite resources. I linked to all of them that I could link to. And then at the bottom of that is a coupon for 25% off my monthly membership package, and that link takes you directly to my website where you can learn more about that there. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Please let me know if this helped you, if there was anything valuable that you appreciated. I love to get feedback so I can help hone these messages and make them better in the future. And again, I'm honored and privileged to be here, and I'm grateful that you are here.